Hey guys, welcome back. So this is my review, my recap on Married at First Sight reunion part 2. This was kind of boring, to be honest. They could have done this reunion in one part. And I think they probably chopped it up into two because they probably felt like with Chris and Paige it was going to be this long drawn out situation, and it wasn't, because Chris ended up leaving. So it starts off where it basically ended in the first part, where Chris is upset. Remember him and Pastor Dwight got into it. So Chris leaves like he always does, and he jumps into his car. Well, here come Paige chasing after him. She gets in the car. She's like, "You were doing so good." I mean, it was just like a child with behavioral issues, and the parent has to redirect him. It was just so. She's like, "You were doing so good, and and you just let it get to you. Like, come on back in," and all this stuff. So he comes back in. Like, my thing is this: if you really are over all of this and you ready to go, you're gonna leave. All of that chase, oh, I'm running out, chase after me, and all this crap. So he comes back in, and Kevin was like, "I'm glad you came back." And he was like, "Yeah, I just want to apologize. I came back in for you, and I came back in for Paige." No, you came back in for attention. Like, let's just call it what it is. You always running out. It's just a never ending cycle. So he was talking about Pastor Dwight and how what pissed him off, and even so hurt him, was the fact that he considered did I say Pastor Kyle? Pastor Dwight, he felt like it was more than just, okay, he's my spiritual teacher, he's my pastor. He considered him a friend, like he was going to be a groomsman for him. So he was like, the fact that I felt like we were close, and for him to get up here on TV and basically, talk down to me, be condescending and all of that, he said, he took it personal, and he just felt like betrayed. And so Kevin was like, "Okay, well, you're going to talk to him. Y'all going to patch things up." He was like, "I don't have anything to say to him. Like, I'm done." And anyway, so Kevin, started getting back into their marriage, and asking Chris, what has he learned? How is he feeling now? All of that. Asked them, were they going to go ahead and sign off on the divorce? So they both said yeah. And he was just, apologizing again. He was like, "Look, I'm sorry for the way I acted just now. Apologizing for how he acted throughout their marriage." He came back in and, "Oh, I'm doing this for Paige," and whatever. So he ends up hugging her, and he leaves. So later on, oh gosh, they talk to Haley and Jacob again. This was a match made in hell. It really was. So they started, playing recaps, and they're still bitter towards each other. And, Jacob was saying how, oh, so the conversation of the bracelet came up. And even then, when it was happening, I kept saying, I was like, it's not about him wanting the bracelet back. That's how Haley and her mom was trying to make it seem like, oh, he shouldn't have given a gift if he was going to take it back. It wasn't about, okay, things aren't working between us, I want my bracelet back. It was the fact that she didn't even acknowledge the fact that he gave her a gift. Like I said, when these couples before they get married, a lot of times they'll send each other gifts. Necklace. I've seen a necklace a couple of times. And so she didn't wear the bracelet for the ceremony, which, okay, you may have had your jewelry already, picked out for the wedding. Maybe it didn't go with that. I don't know. Nonetheless, the fact that even after the wedding, she didn't wear the bracelet, she didn't even acknowledge it, and she gave it to her mom when she went back home. Like, who does that? Just bring the bracelet with you. That part was kind of, it was weird. I didn't understand why she didn't just bring the bracelet with her. It's almost as if she gave her mom the bracelet, like, here, you can have it because I don't want it. But I don't know. Anyway, so the subject came about the bracelet, and they played a clip of her talking to her mom, and they were kind of laughing at it, like, oh, please send this bracelet back so he could stop hounding me about it, And that's what her mom was like, well, if he didn't want you to have it, he shouldn't have bought it. If he was going to take it back, it was a gift. Totally missing what Jacob was saying, which was you didn't even acknowledge it. Like, he felt you didn't appreciate it. And so he explained that again. And they started talking about the lack of communication. He was saying how Haley just wasn't feeling him at all. She just wasn't feeling him. And so Kevin was like, well, did you try romancing her? Like, did you even try to woo and romance your wife, for her to fall in love with you, basically? And he was like, no, I couldn't. He said, she despised me. She did not want to be around me at all. Like, y'all have no idea. And I'm thinking, now we saw what we saw on the camera, how she was towards him. I can only imagine off camera. And anyway, so it was nothing really different. Like, they both were just calling each other liars. Both of them still saying that, neither one was really trying and all of that. So they ended up having all the guys together and talking to them. And there was an empty chair, of course, that was for Chris. We all know that he left. And so they, Kevin was asking about that. He was like, well, Chris isn't here. How do you guys feel about that? What are your thoughts? Whatever. So Eric is like, well, I was kind of hoping he would be here, to explain himself. And I don't know, like, Chris is just an ass. Okay, let's just call it what it is. I can't stand Chris. But at the same time, it's something about this entitlement. Like, Chris doesn't have to explain anything to you, Eric. Okay, like, from the get-go, once the secret was out that he was expecting a baby, and with Paige telling the girls, all the stuff that was going on between, it just seemed Eric and Haley Eric and Virginia, they just had this attitude, like, first of all, wanting to play counselor to everybody, and then just had this attitude like Chris owes them an explanation, and worry about your own. Y'all have other issues to deal with. So when he said that, I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, he don't have to. The only one he has to explain to is Paige and to Kevin, because Kevin was the host asking the questions. But no, he's already apologized, which was fake. We all know that. But decision day, when they all met back up later on, he apologized. He did a fake apology, and he explained what he was going through and why he was acting that way. So he's already done all of that. He don't owe you anything else, Eric. But anyway, so they were all discussing it, and was, like, well, how do you guys feel about how things transpired with Chris and Paige? And they were all giving their opinion. And then they played the clip where Virginia and Clara approached Chris. They confronted him. They went on some little excursion, and they approached him, and they were like, our girl Paige isn't happy. You're doing this, you're doing that, and we just want her to be happy. So, like, you need to man up, and you're like, what are you going to do about your situation? I mean, just hounding this dude, right? And like I said, Chris is not my favorite person at all, but it's something about, and I hate to say it, pink people just have this entitled attitude, like, we need answers. You need to explain. He don't owe y'all anything. Mind your business. Now, he was like, this fake concern. They were playing the playback, the clip of when they confronted him. So he was like, look, y'all doing all this fake concern. This between me and my wife. I'm asking y'all to stay out of it, basically. Well, it's not no fake concern. She's our friend, this and that. He was like, she is not y'all friend. Y'all don't even know her. Like, you're just being fake concerned. Basically, y'all being nosy and messy. So things are escalating, and Eric comes over. Well, Ryan comes over, and Ryan at the time was like, telling Clara, like, look, mind your business and stay out of it. Like, leave him alone. So he takes her and they walk off. Where Eric is like, dude, we're just asking questions and this and that. Paige is their friend. And anyway, they get into it. It's over with. So later on the bus, they started at it again. And Chris and Virginia gets into it, right? And now, when they were at the little site, I think they were doing like go-karts or something. When they were there, I agreed with Chris. I was like, they didn't mind their business. Because to me, okay, if y'all want to support Paige, because Paige is confiding in y'all, that's totally fine. Whatever. Then talk to Paige and comfort her and be there for her. But under no circumstances did any of y'all have a right approaching him like, you doing our girl like this, and what are you gonna do? And you need to man up. That was not y'all place to do that. So I agree with Chris in that regards. Now, when they were on the bus leaving the place, he went in on Virginia, and I felt like it was unnecessary. He was being aggressive. It was just too much. So him and Virginia going back and forth. Eric is just sitting there. Now, Eric, you got all this mouth, you all this and that, but Eric was looking straight the whole time. So Virginia kind of looked at him like she didn't say anything, but she looked at him like, dude, really? This dude is up here damn near cussing me out, and you just sitting here. So when she looked at him, Eric turns around, and you couldn't hear what he was saying because Chris and Virginia was still going at it. But I guess basically he probably was like, hey, dude, stop, whatever. So anyway, at the reunion, when Kevin was asking them about, all of that, Eric was like, yeah, I just didn't like the way he was talking to my wife. He got balls now. I didn't like the way he was talking to my wife and Clara, trying to bring Ryan into the conversation. And Ryan was like, yeah, you can say whatever you want to me, but I don't appreciate, you're not going to talk to my wife like that. So I'm like, okay, now I recall, Ryan, you showing up when Chris was having this conversation with your wife. You showed up and told your wife to mind her business and leave Chris alone. You didn't say one word to Chris. So this is what I mean by, so now y'all sitting around talking about him, and he ain't gonna treat my wife like this. But when you had the opportunity to check him at that time, y'all didn't. So they were playing the clip where after that incident, they all met together for dinner. Chris apologized. He's always apologizing. So he apologized again, and everybody was cool. So Eric and Virginia comes after the apology, and they sit down, and Eric starts off, right? And Ryan was like, well, Chris was just apologizing for, what happened earlier, whatever. It's all good. You can tell Virginia probably got in Eric's ass after that. When they were up in that hotel room, she probably was like, this dude came off to me some type of way, and I felt like you didn't defend me, whatever. Because just the way it all unfolded, instead of Eric saying, okay, well, yeah, it was the situation just went left. It shouldn't have, and I just felt like, the way you were talking to the women, whatever. Eric is like, I don't appreciate you talking to my wife like this. Like now, he done got some liquor up in him. So now he got this liquid courage. So him and Chris go at it. Virginia, she gets up, and when Eric gets up, Chris jumps up. Like, I guess he felt like, okay, you standing up, you jumping up, I'm gonna stand up too, because if something go down, it ain't gonna be with me sitting down. And Vinny, I call him Vinny. Vincent, of course he grabs Chris, he breaks up, whatever. So anyway, they're discussing this, and they ask Vincent what did he think about everything that went down. Now Vincent and Chris are cool, so he never comes right out and bash Chris or really talk about Chris' behavior. He was just like, yeah, I understood both sides type situation. I think that when Eric stood up, Chris felt threatened. So he stood up, and things just escalated from there. Anyway, so they just, the guys are just talking about their, relationships and all of that. So then later on, they bring on the wives. And so everyone's sitting together and they're talking, and of course, Paige is there by herself, and Kevin is like, well, how do you feel that he's not sitting here? So she's like, well, I felt like he's, even though, like, Haley and Jacob, even though they decided to divorce, they both were still there. And even though Chris and Paige didn't work out, he could have still been there. So she was like, I felt like he should be here. And but it is what it is, basically. Oh, so before all of that, when Chris first, when he left, when he gave Paige a hug and he left, um Kevin was asking Paige, how's she doing, how's she feeling, because her friend, they actually called her friend out. Her friend was one of, I don't think she was one of the bridesmaids. So her friend came out and they played the clip where Chris told the bridesmaids that basically he wasn't attracted to Paige. Like, from day one, Chris made it very clear that he was not attracted to Paige. This dude told the cameras, when they having their one-on-one, he told her bridesmaids, he told Paige the next day, and he told Pastor Cat. He's told everybody he was not attracted to this girl, like, from day one. So he told the bridesmaids this, and I went back and forth because I don't know how I would have handled that. Like, do you go tell her, like, this dude just said he's not attracted to you, or do you let things just flow and see what happens? Maybe things would, and this is what I mean by, during the whole season. Now, I know Paige confided in the girls, the other wives, but I'm like, did she at any point call her friends? Because I know her brother and his girlfriend came to visit her, and she kind of, she told them some stuff about Chris, but I'm like, was she calling her friends and her family and letting them know what was going on? Because to me, if okay, if you make the decision as a bridesmaid, like, look, he said, Paige wasn't really his type, whatever. All right, I'm not gonna tell her. I don't want to ruin her wedding day. Maybe things will get better. Maybe, maybe he'll fall in love with her. Maybe, so I'm gonna stay out of it and see where this goes. So if you go with that way of thinking, I feel like once she started calling and confiding in her friends, this is considering if she is actually doing this. If I was one of the bridesmaids and I decided, okay, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to see where this goes, maybe things will improve, maybe he'll become attracted to her, whatever. Once she started calling me and it's like, girl, he's doing this, he's doing that, blah, 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 he told me this, whatever, to me, at that point, I would have told her. Because, okay, I didn't tell you before because I wanted to give you guys a chance, thinking maybe things will improve. But now that you're telling me he's been the ass and he told you himself that he didn't think you were attractive and he's doing all of this drama, I'm going to tell you right now, this is what he said on the wedding day. And now that I see that things aren't, getting better, he is who he is. He's the person that showed up on that wedding day that we saw. I think you need to let things go. So that's why I was questioning, was she confiding in her friends? Because the girl was like, yeah, as I watched it and saw things unfold, she was like, I was pissed. I was really upset, and I wish I would have said something. Okay. So anyway, so Paige at some point gets offended, and she's like, because everybody, people online, they're posting, oh, she's dumb, she's weak, she's desperate, whatever. And so she's like, I want people to know that I'm not this weak, desperate woman. And of course she throws God in there. She's like, I'm a woman of God, and this was a marriage, this was a marriage before God, and this and that, and blah blah blah. Listen, Paige, okay, you are or were weak and desperate. A lot of times it's nothing wrong with you being this God-fearing woman and you wanting to dedicate yourself to this marriage that's, in your words, ordained by God. Nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, God granted you common sense and should have granted you self-esteem. Like, you were the only person fighting for this marriage. That's the thing. Like you were doing your part, but he wasn't doing his. So at what point do you walk away and say, hey, maybe God didn't maybe God had nothing to do with this? Because you can't make him love you. You can't make him be attracted to you. You can't make him want you or this marriage. And you tried everything, and this dude still was not trying to commit to you. He was still sleeping with you, which obviously confused things for you because you felt like, I remember on the honeymoon, she said that she talked to one of her guy friends, and he was like, no, guys can't, if they won't have sex with you if they're not attracted to you. I'm like, Paige, this dude telling you he not attracted to you, and you arguing with him basically like, yeah, you are, you have to be because you slept with me. Anyway, so she was just like, I'm a strong woman. I don't want people to think that, I'm weak and I'm this and I'm that. No, you are. And he made a complete fool out of you from day 2, the day after your wedding, the day after you slept with him. This dude left out of the hotel room, left you sitting there for hours. Like, I'm gonna need y'all to follow me. On the wedding day, he told her bridesmaid she is not typically what I am used to dating as far as looks. Okay, he didn't come out and say she ugly, but that's basically what he was saying. She not really what I usually go for. And when they asked him, well, what do you mean? What is your type? And he was like, model like, and he's describing it. Okay, that's the first issue. Then honey, the wedding night, y'all have sex, everything, whatever. The very next morning, we see Paige sitting there looking at her watch, looking at the clock. She's sitting there looking all sad and depressed, wondering where her husband is. This dude left the hotel room, didn't say good morning, I'll be back. Well, no, he did. He was supposed to go get them breakfast. That's it. He told her he was going to go get them breakfast. Chris was gone for hours. And then he showed up with no food. Like, and she's like, okay, what's going on? Like, you left me here for hours. You're supposed to go get us breakfast. We don't, I don't see anything. Like, what's going on? And then he tells her, I'm not attracted to you. So, and then what? 2-3 days later, you tell her you got a baby on the way. This dude has been disrespecting you, and it has been nothing but drama since day 1 of his shenanigans. Day 2 of when he came out and started showing you who he was. So throughout the whole marriage, it wasn't. One thing I would say is, now Chris, he played games, but he told her straight up, I'm not attracted to you. And I don't know if I want this marriage. I don't know if I want to be in this marriage, whatever. He did everything possible to turn this girl off. She will not go away. She was like, I'm holding on to this. He played games with her. And it's so weird because it's like, dude, are you treating her this way because you're not attracted to her? Like, that is so crazy. And it's mean. It's just wrong. Mean and wrong. So anyway, they all the couples together and they talked about Virginia and Eric. Now, during the season, Virginia admitted that she goes out drinking with her friends Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and if she's too drunk, she'll sleep over at one of her male friends' house. And when Eric was like, well, no, okay, we're not going to do that now. Like, we're married, so we're not going to be doing that. And Jenny, I call her Jenny. Jenny was not trying to give up her friends and her partying ways and her drinking, none of that. So when they talked about it, Ryan was like, well, nah, I don't have a problem with Clara, having male friends, whatever. I would never tell her, she couldn't. But I don't know about that, sleeping and crashing on, one of her male friends' couches. And so Virginia kind of gets, take offense to that. And she's like, well, that's what I used to do. I didn't say I was going to do that now that I'm married. No, bitch, you did. You were like, I'm going to continue to hang out with my male friends. I'm going to continue to go out drinking. And if I crash at their place, oh well. And I'm not going to text you throughout the evening, letting you know how I'm doing. Here's my thing. You're now married. So even if your husband didn't have a problem with you going out drinking with your friends, he like, you can continue to do that. Okay. But if you to the point where you're that drunk where you can't drive, guess what? Your husband need to come pick your ass up. Okay, there is no I'm sleeping over my male friend house, and I guess men and women can be platonic friends. I ended up marrying my platonic friend, so unless they're gay, and this is just my opinion, and maybe I'm ignorant, maybe but if there is it's possible. It is possible. It is because you can find somebody attractive and still be just friends. But anyway, I just personally feel like you're married and you get to the point where you're so pissy drunk where you can't drive, your spouse need to come pick you up. I don't believe in all that. Oh, then you just put her in the Uber because we've heard horror stories about Uber drivers taking advantage of intoxicated women being in there. So no, I mean let that be your last resort. But Eric should come and pick you up. Like she was not getting that, and now she wants to get on here and was like, I didn't say I would continue to do that after we're married. But anyway, so Vinny and Brianna, they show clips of him, being romantic and all of this, and yeah, I mean, this episode part two was kind of dry. It was kind of dry. I think if Chris had been there, it would have been interesting because, of course, he would have gotten into an argument with someone, but he wasn't there, and yeah, so that was that. I am glad the season is over with. The new season starts in July. So, yeah, I plan to watch that and do reviews on that, but that is it. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned. So, Chris, I mentioned when he on decision day when he revealed that his ex-girlfriend had a miscarriage. So there is no baby. Um But anyway, so that's it, you guys. That is Married at First Sight Atlanta. Second reunion part two was dry and boring. But yeah, that's it. So until next time, take care.